An officer at Goodwill Industries of Arkansas, and we are so incredibly grateful for y'all inviting us to share with you some incredible stories with some recent graduates. I have the distinct honor of introducing them with just a quick update on the Excel Center. So the Excel Center is an adult high school. It's the only adult high school in the state of Arkansas. We are under the charter umbrella, and definitely appreciate you all and your support of what we do every day. Currently, we just started term 1 as of Monday. Our school director, Ashley McDonald, is here with us, as well as our life coaches. We have Courtney Jackson, Makai Overstreet. Becky Lockett is our lead life coach, and they are responsible for ensuring those wraparound services for our Excel Center students. Starting term 1, Little Rock, we are sitting at 216 students as of Monday, and super excited about that. We also have a campus in Springdale. So one thing we were really, really proud of last year is we had over 2,400 credits earned by students in the Excel Center. Again, we are an in-person 9th through 12th grade curriculum high school for adults that provides on-site free childcare. We provide wraparound services with our life coaches, career navigation with our career services team, as well as transportation vouchers, because we're trying to remove all of those barriers. Without further ado, I am excited to introduce some very, very special graduates. We have with us Miss Audrey Palmer. She graduated June of 2025, this past June. Miss Palmer, if you want to stand up. Come on up here. We have Miss Pat Nesby. She graduated in June of 2024. And we have with us Miss Robin Turner, also graduated in June of 2024. So these ladies are a testament to hard work, dedication, and commitment, and we could not be more proud of them. I'm going to give them the microphone for a minute if you all have any questions or anything you all would like to say.
Okay. I'm Audrey Palmer. I'm 73 now. And it was a long struggle for me, because when I started school, I started with a walker, a cane, and oxygen. And I would go down from hall to hall, class to class, with that walker and the cane and all together. I was determined. This is what I wanted to do. I lost my son 4 years ago, and he asked me, did I want to go back to school? And I said, no, I'm too old for that. So he passed a month later, and my daughter didn't get to make me feel no better. She jumped right at it. Mama, you want to go back to school? I said, no. Then she said, well, Mama. I said, okay, find me a school. I thought she was going to wait at least about 3 weeks. She jumped off the bed and went in there and come back. She said, Mama, I have your school, I have your assessment, I have everything, your first date and everything. I said, okay. I said, look like the tables is turned. She being the mom and I'm being the child. She would take me to school, pick me up in the evening, help me with homework at night. I cried many days in class, but at the end, it was all worth it. I cried, and I looked at my mom. She had to have her legs amputated 2 years ago. So I looked back at her, and she's smiling. I'm going like, if my mom can smile after this, I can smile and go ahead and do what I have to do. So I did it. I have 9 grandkids and 9 great-grands, and they keep me on my toes. But I'm very grateful to all the staff, because they say, it takes a village to raise kids. It takes a bigger village to raise grown folks. I'm attest to that. It takes a bigger village because you have 19,000 different attitudes every day that you have to deal with. You don't know what kind of attitude you're going to get. So I did my best to stay focused, and I cried a lot. But Miss Max said she didn't care about my crying because she was going to make me walk across the stage. And that's what I did, and I'm grateful to all of them. I'm just grateful.
And what a role model.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Patricia Nesby. I'm 68 years old, years young. But I saw the Excel Center on television, but before I saw that, I talked to my oldest daughter before she passed away. We were going to go to school together. She was going to go for her education. She wanted to be a teacher, so she was going to go back to get her teacher's license. And I was going back for my high school diploma. So before that happened, she passed away. And about a year later, I sat there and I was thinking one day, I said, okay, Tamika, you gone. We were gonna do this together, but I'm gonna get up and do it anyway without you. And I'm gonna prove to you that I can do it. I did it. But it was such a, 68, way back then, hadn't been to school. Look at this algebra, the 1, 2, and I'm sitting there like, oh my God, you know? And I went to do it, and the teacher said, no, we don't do it like that anymore. I said, oh Lord. So she showed me, and it was a task. That math, it got me, but I did it. But I just thank God I took the step and I went back. And not only that, I went back to get my high school diploma after sitting up at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning trying to do that math. Miss Mack, my math teacher, I used to call her at 11 o'clock at night. She said, Delta Queen, go to bed. She told me to go to bed. I said, okay, Miss Mack. But it was so much fun, and even with the map of Arkansas, I know the everything, all the states, but when she gave me that map and said, y'all fill in the states, the only state I could fill in was Arkansas. But she said, we're having a test the next day. I got that map, I went home, I sit in that bed, and I studied, went back to school and made a 95. I said, look up here. That proved to me that I could do it.
Hi, my name is Robin Turner, and I am 71 years old. And I found out about Excel, adult education. And I found out about them through my niece. She was going there. And so I wanted to go back to school. I tried in 82, 92, and I kept falling out, dropping out. So I said, this time I am going, and I'm going to make this happen. And just like it was, when I went in there and took that test, I didn't think I was going to pass. But I did. And the guy said, you start Monday. I said, I was so happy. And the only reason I went back, because I wanted to go back because of my son. I have a disabled son to take care of him. And I went back because I encouraged my son and my grandkids to get that diploma, because you're going to need it through life. You got to have that diploma. I said, let me go back. I encouraged them, let me go get mine. So I went on back and to get my diploma and went to school and everything. And then like this, I said, oh, I got this beat. Because back then, things were then easier for me than it is now. I know it had changed. And so when I got in there, and the first thing I thought was that math. I was good in math in school when I was younger. I got in there and I said, I got this. This is an ace. And so I got in there. Excuse me, Scooby-Doo. I said, A, B, C, and D. Add, subtract, multiply, and divide. I got this. And when Miss Mack put that paper in front of me, I said, She said, oh, you gonna get, I said, we ain't did nothing like this. I don't know nothing about this. She said, oh, you gonna learn this. And I learned it. And I'm so grateful for Excel Education, Adult Center. And I would tell anybody, and I tell them all, Excel Adult Education Center is the best school you can go to. They are wonderful, and I enjoyed the staff. Even though I made y'all laugh, but I enjoyed it.
Thank y'all again. Thank you so much for letting us have some of our students share their stories. That's kind of a story, that is a story of generational change. You heard about the number of grandkids, children, all of the lives that are affected, that those children are now going to see the importance of a high school diploma and continuing their education. So hats off, ladies. We are so incredibly proud of you. Thank y'all so much for letting us have this opportunity. We appreciate you.
You guys have any questions?
Well, I don't have a question, but I just want to say y'all are probably the most fun group we've ever had come up here and talk to us. This is wonderful to hear about, and congratulations, first of all, and thank you so much for giving up your morning and coming over here and sharing that with us. I hope that you will keep telling your stories. I hope the department will tell your stories. Y'all are a real inspiration, not just to your families, but your entire community. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I don't think I could pass algebra again. Very honest. Like if you told me you have to go back, I'd be like, I guess I'm not being a graduate. I cannot do it. So we would love to get a picture with you guys if that's okay. If you just want to come up here and we'll come down there.
No, I'm good. I'm gonna stop it there. You got room, Kevin? Do I need to go back? There we go. I'm gonna get it.
Everything after that is just going to be a dud. Like, that starts the day. I think we have next, we have Courtney Salas Ford with the department. She's going to do some master principal designations.
Good morning. Yes, so we have another great recognition of two of our principals that have earned the Master Principal designation. And so really, I'm going to pass it off to Mr. Bradley Weber, who directs the Arkansas Leadership Academy and can tell us a lot more about that program and how we came to honor these two great principals.
Thank you, Courtney. Good morning, everyone. I'm honored to be with you this morning to honor two phenomenal building leaders in the state of Arkansas. First of all, if you're not familiar with the Arkansas Leadership Academy's Master Principal Program, one of the things that we've been tasked with is to develop strong educational leaders in our Arkansas public schools. And so that is a 3-year commitment. We're going to welcome 65 new principals just in about 2.5 weeks to start. Over the course of our 3 years together, we work on leadership capacity. We talk about stakeholder support and involvement. And then finally, the last part of that is systems development to make sure that even when these phenomenal principals are gone from their buildings, the things that they've done to develop teachers, to develop staff, to develop stakeholder relationships continue in those buildings. And so once a principal moves through those 3 stages, Principal McDonald is a P3 graduate. We're looking forward to her application from the Excel Center here in the next couple years. They can apply for designation, where they write to all the high-level things that they're doing in their building, and then based on that, we'll come and conduct a site visit where we talk to anybody and everybody who will give us the time of day. That is food service workers, that is janitors, that is bus drivers, that is parents, that is community partners, that is kids. Those are probably my favorite conversations. We'll talk a little bit about those here in a second. And then those site visits are scored against our rubric as well. And so today, we got to have 2 site visits back in the spring. The first one was at Don Roberts Elementary here in the Little Rock School District, where we got to see Principal Stephen Helmick and his team in action. Some highlights of that visit are the mantra, encourage, engage, equip, are everywhere across that building. They talk about how are they going to encourage students to be their best each and every day, how are they going to engage them in rigorous personalized learning, and how are they going to equip them on the next step of their educational journey. Everywhere we turned, there was just dynamic community and family partnerships. When I say there was a waiting line in a packed out cafeteria to talk to us from his parents and community partners, that line went about halfway from the back of the building in the cafeteria all the way to the front door, people who wanted to brag on the staff of Roberts Elementary for the work that they were doing with their kids. They also have a very unique way of delivering professional development. We've been to a lot of faculty meetings during site visits. I have never sat in on a podcast recording of PD that's going to roll out. Principal Helmick told us, he goes, we've got to recognize that our teachers lead dynamic lives. We've got to meet them where they are. And so what we do is capture the things that we want to see in classrooms and roll those out so that they can listen to them while they're at soccer practice with their kid, on a walk with their family, walking the dog at night, or as they drive in the morning. They have just tremendous student supports in place, whether that was WinTime intervention teams that are working or collaborative teams to implement high quality instructional materials. And the result of that is they sit at the 95th percentile for student value added growth in the state of Arkansas. And so for those reasons, it is an honor today to recognize Principal Stephen Helmick as a master principal in Arkansas.
Well, State Board, it's an honor to stand before you today as the master principal in the state of Arkansas. I do want to talk a little bit just about encouraging, engaging, and equipping in our buildings. So our mission is pretty simple, but it's profound. We want to encourage, engage, and equip students in educational and personal excellence in a diverse and global community. At Roberts, we have 1,042 kids coming to us next week, but we consistently say in our building that out of 1,042 kids, every kid is someone's 100%. And so each and every day, I work with a tremendous staff of 115 people that all are headed in the same direction to make a difference in the lives of kids. And so super grateful for my team. I have a tremendous AP team that I trust completely. Our teacher teams, it's complex in our building. We have 6 to 8 teachers per grade level. And as the lady said here earlier, adults can be complex, right? And so when you've got 8 people on a team working collaboratively together, there's got to be a lot of systems and supports in place to ensure that they're doing what's right for kids. I do want to also highlight my associate superintendent, Dr. KK Bradshaw. She has been a tremendous blessing to me in terms of pushing me and engaging me in district work. And then also, I do want to talk and highlight the Master Principal Program and the Arkansas Leadership Academy. Bradley will never say this, but his team is phenomenal. This has been a 4-year journey for me, and when I look back, and I've talked to my wife, Carrie, multiple times, we've said, if I never designated as a Master Principal, the process would still be worth it. I have never had professional learning as a building leader like I have over the past 3 to 4 years with Bradley and his team. Part of that is because what it does is it brings leaders from all over the state of Arkansas who are doing tremendous work in all of their buildings, and we get to go and be real with each other in safe spaces and say, this is what I'm struggling with, this is what I'm having a hard time with, this is what's working, and we rub shoulders with each other, we encourage each other. There were 36 in our first class, we finished with 12 in our group, And the 12 of us have a group chat that constantly, even with back to school stuff, we're encouraging each other. We're finding ways to make a difference in schools all across the state of Arkansas. And so I am grateful for the Arkansas Leadership Academy. I'm a better person and a better leader because of it. I know that our school would not be where it is without the support that I've received. And so it's an honor to receive this reward or this award today. But I'm one person in the midst of 115 Roberts Elementary staff that are proudly master principals and master principal recognition with our entire staff. It's just an honor to be here, so thank you.
Wait, but before Stephen goes too far, I just want to interrupt and say it's another day and it's another honor for Stephen Helmick. And most of the people on this board may already know my affection for Mr. Helmick. But if you're new, I want you to know that Mr. Helmick is maybe the finest principal in Little Rock and maybe the finest principal in Arkansas. I'm extremely biased in that because all three of my kids were under his leadership at Roberts Elementary School, and they all love it. And they all miss their days at Roberts. They're all middle schoolers now or high schoolers, but their best days were at Roberts Elementary School. And Mr. Helmick, the culture you have there is second to none, and you're a wonderful principal. You're a great friend too. Love you, bud.
Yeah, I would like to echo what Mr. Woods just said. You know, he said he's biased, but what he said is true. I'm less biased, but my knowledge of you, you're renowned in the school, you're renowned in the district, you're renowned in the state, you're renowned in the local community. And I wanted to just share with you my respect and esteem for what you're doing at Roberts. Thanks, man.
It's hard sitting over here not to notice that he's got his Roberts baby eagles on his socks this morning. Next up, we got to take a site visit to Cabot Public Schools and spend time at Stagecoach Elementary, where we met Principal Carol Skibba and her team. And I will just tell you that from the minute you pull into that parking lot, there is music going, there are teachers on roller skates. It is a party from the time you pull in, and you know it's gonna be a good day. As we walked through the halls of Stagecoach, we heard so many dynamic things that were happening, not only on behalf of learning, but also just in welcoming families to the community. Stagecoach is a Purple Star school supporting military families in the area. One of the things that Ms. Skibba told us as soon as we walked on campus was that while you're here, you're going to engage in a culture of reading. From the second we get a kid, whether that's in kindergarten or they move here in another grade, they know there's going to be a book in their hand and they're going to develop as a reader. Not only that, they've gone through the process of STEM integration across every content area with a ton of optional activities, after-school activities, and embedded curriculum activities to work in some of those other concepts, also going through the process to become a Capturing Kids' Hearts model school nationally. They have a reputation for building and mentoring new leaders. When I say that, I actually got to see Carol earlier in the week at the administrators conference alongside what I thought was her assistant principal. But her assistant principal has actually moved because of the skills and the things that she's learned under Carol's leadership to another campus. There are multiple principals in the Cabot School District who were once assistant principals for Carol Skibba because she's the kind of leader that makes other leaders. And so it's for those reasons and the fact that all that work has yielded a 92nd percentile ranking when it comes to student value-added growth that I'm excited to recognize Carol Skibba from Stagecoach Elementary in the Cabot Public School System as a designated master principal.
Short girl problems. Thank you, Bradley Weber, and I have to say thank you to the Arkansas Leadership Academy. It has truly taken my leadership to the next level, and I just want to reiterate what Stephen said, that it is the best professional development in the state of Arkansas for educators, for leaders, and so I want to thank you so much for all of the learning that took place in the 3 years that I was there. Also, just want to say thank you to the unwavering support of the people in in my district who have supported me. I have Mr. Randolph, Aaron Randolph here as my assistant superintendent, and Stacy Allen is with me. She is also, she was my principal when I became an assistant principal for the first time, so she's definitely mentored me and helped me in my journey. Also, Andy Sullivan back here, I have to recognize. Thank you for being here, Andy. He also has played a big role in my leadership, encouraging me to become a part of the AAESP board, and also just mentoring me as a leader. And also my mom. I have to give credit to my mother, who always encouraged me to reach for the stars, and so I'm thankful for her in my life. Stagecoach Elementary is an amazing school. I'm so proud of the work that we have done there. It is, it's just, I call it the best school in the state of Arkansas. I may be biased, but that is what I truly believe, that is the best school. I have a wonderful staff, the best students and parents and community partnerships, and definitely could not do this work by myself. It is a group effort, and I'm just so, I wish they could all be here today to receive this designation with me, because they work really, really hard for the students of Arkansas. Also want to thank you guys, this board, for all the work that you do to support educators and leaders and students in this great state of Arkansas. Thank you so much. I'm very honored to receive this designation. Thank you.
So I just say the Master Principal Program has been in existence since 2001, and on behalf of the ALA, our partners, the Arkansas Public School Resource Center, and Arkansas State University, we're excited to name number 46 and number 47 to the roll today on our Master Principal designee list. So thank you for having us.
You guys don't get to skip out on a picture either, so if both of y'all could come up, we would love to get a picture with you. roller skating? Okay. Moving forward, do we have any changes to the agenda? As far as I know? No? Okay. All right, well then we will move ahead with our action agenda. I'm gonna invite Mr. Schultz and Ms. James forward. Are there anybody other than attorneys that are gonna be testifying in today's hearing? If so, I will need to swear you in. Go ahead and stand up. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Yes, thank you. You can be seated. All right. I will just remind my colleagues we are here to review the record, and we are also here to review the sanctions that were imposed. So as they go forth and give testimony, keep that in mind. Mr. Schultz?
Thank you, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Just a brief reminder of the procedures for this proceeding. Review of a PLSB action is conducted pursuant to Section 114 of the rules governing the Code of Ethics for Arkansas educators. In this case, the educator has elected to appear and present oral argument through his attorney. The educator or his attorney is given 10 minutes to present oral argument. The PLSB attorney will also have 10 minutes to present oral arguments. The chair may allow either party additional time for good cause shown. In this hearing, the State Board is to consider the transcript, the pleadings, and the oral argument only. However, at the request of the chair of the State Board, the educator and the PLSB investigator for the case may provide testimony. No other testimony should be heard. All testimony from the educator or the PLSB board investigator is to be given under oath. Thank you.
Mr. Eddings? All right, it's for you. Yes, sir. Is the department going to go first? Educator goes first. Educator goes first? Okay. That's what I thought.
First of all, I'd like to say good morning, and it's a pleasure to be back before you. I say that tongue in cheek. And I'll just cut to the chase.
Can you introduce yourself just for the record?
I'm sorry. My name's Kayem Eddings, for the record, and I'm here appearing on behalf of Michael Staggs, who's now the superintendent of the Equipment School District. And I'll just get right to it because I'm sure that the board has been apprised of the pleadings filed in the case associated with the last time I was here, Danny Mars, and I believe that those two cases are inextricably linked. And because of what's alleged in those pleadings, I believe that that this entire board should recuse, and I'll tell you why. Pursuant to an FOI request that I sent to the ADE several weeks ago, I've determined that in response to that FOIA request, that there were some text messages that I was provided, and it's demonstrated that at least one, perhaps two board members have engaged in ex parte communications with two witnesses in the investigation in this matter involving Mr. Michael Staggs. These communications were not disclosed to the parties. As alleged in the Mars complaint, those communications included procedural coaching. Those communications included legal strategy. As a matter of fact, there was a text message from a member of this body to one of the witnesses asking, can you find me the statute related to removing this body's authority to consider disciplinary actions when probation is recommended, when the educator doesn't appeal to this board for review. And then those text messages also included evidence of emotional manipulation. There's also included in those text messages commentary, post-hearing commentary related to the Mars appeal. I believe that the court will determine that such communications create, at minimum, an appearance of bias. And that clearly violates Arkansas Code annotated section 2515-209 and the established right of my client's right to due process. Going further, as demonstrated in the record in the Mars hearing, and again, I believe those two cases are inextricably linked. They included the same witnesses, the same school district, the same investigator, and some of the same claims. As evidenced by the record in the Mars hearing, one board member asked questions that were not supported by the record, which indicates a clear reliance on sources or discussions outside of that record and more ex parte communication. For example, during the time that Mr. Mars appeared before this body, there were questions posed to Mr. Mars regarding an investigation report that began on page 451 of the record in that case. That same investigation report begins on page 454 in this case. Mr. Mars was asked questions related to pictures of a student on the commode being shared, that a student spreading pictures of kids on the toilet, and then he was questioned about whether or not that kid was removed from the football team, and the response was that from a member of this board, Mr. Wood, you in particular, said his story was not that he was removed from the team at that time. His story was that he was asked to stay on the team and that you were going to throw him off the team, referring to Mr. Mars. And he said, wait, no, never mind, I can't throw you off the team, I need you. And that's a statement that's attributed to Mr. Mars, and that is contained nowhere in the record in the Mars investigation. And then there was also a query about the lawsuit that Mr. Stacks and Mr. Mars filed in Cleveland County. And on page 157 of the record, of the transcript in the Mars hearing, there was a back and forth between Mr. Mars and you, Mr. Wood, wherein you said that Mr. Mars got a warning from the judge that his case was in trouble and that he voluntarily dismissed it, although he had the right to refile. And that also is contained nowhere in the record
Mr.
in the Mars hearing.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'll give the members of this board an opportunity to recuse, but I really would like to stick to the record here, and I think that you owe it to your client that's here today to present his record. So obviously there is litigation related to another client, and so I just want to give the client that you have here today his due diligence and his time. So if we could stick to what's here, we've got 3 minutes left, and I'll give a little bit of time for interrupting.
All right, well, at this time, I'd like to move for the admission of those text messages that I received in response to my FOIA request into the record in this case.
That is denied.
That's fine. So going to the merits. Now, that seemed to be, since I've got 3 minutes left, there seemed to be a whole lot of discussion during the Mars hearing about Mr. Stacks' discretion, the discretion that he exercised in allowing students, after they were placed on probation by the court, to continue on the football team the following school year. and there was a query back and forth between Mr. Wood and I regarding the advice that I gave the school district in the interpretation of their policies, particularly policy 6.1. And for you lawyers on the panel, you know that the first key of statutory interpretation is that statutes must be read harmoniously, they must be read to be consistent, and they must be read to be sensible and to give the effect to each and every part of the statute. And I believe that that's the same as it relates to the interpretation of policies of school districts. Now, there was a lot of time focused and spent on policy 6.1, but in Mr. Stacks's hearing, he was able to delve further into the entirety of the Quitman School District policies. There's policy 7.1 and I believe 7.2 that also gives the principal discretion, particularly as it relates to students who have special circumstances. And Mr. Stacks can talk to you more about that and how he took those parts of the policy into consideration when he exercised that discretion. Now, I also like to point out that in the minute and a half that I have left, that I believe that the PLSB evidentiary subcommittee, they found, well, first of all, like a trial court, they were the ones who were there and able to assess the credibility of the witnesses. You all, I believe, act more akin to an appellate court where you review the record. And I mean, of course, you also have the ability and authority to question Mr. Stacks. But the ethics subcommittee assessed the credibility of the witnesses. And I find it very telling. Now, Ms. Fox, Melanie Fox and I've known Ms. Fox for a long time. I count her as a friend, and I hope we'll still be friends after this. But I find it very, very telling that of all the people that appeared to testify in Stacks' hearing, the one person who's never met Mr. Stacks, the one person who's never even been to Quitman, was the one who's chosen to come and testify at Mr. Stacks' hearing. And if you read the testimony of Ms. Fox, I think that the transcript, the 11-hour transcript of that hearing clearly indicates that much of Ms. Fox's testimony lacks foundation. She relied on hearsay, and she relied on, in some instances, double hearsay, particularly when one of the assertions that she makes is that the district misled you, Secretary Oliva, and the Attorney General when it submitted to you a timeline of the events and incidents in this case. And I took Ms. Fox line by line through that submission and asked her to point out the lies. And at the end of that testimony, I believe that
Mr. Eddings, could you draw it to a conclusion because your time is up? And I know I interrupted you, so I'm affording you some more time, but if you could just summarize.
Thank you, Ms. Wood. But in conclusion, this case, I believe, arose from, as I stood before you the last time, this was a deeply unfortunate series of student interactions. This case is, I think, about navigating, complicated events in real time in a small school district with legal uncertainty, and of course there was community tension. I believe that the PLSB Ethics Subcommittee, they took a measured and well-supported approach, and their recommendation reflects both accountability and proportionality, and I don't believe that there's any need for this board, factually or legally, to override the credibility determinations made by the PLSB board to amplify or depart in any way from the recommendations they made. Thank you, Ms. Wood, and thank you, fellow board members.
Ms. James?
Whitney James with the PLSB. Michael Stacks is a veteran educator who's been in education for over 24 years. At the time of the allegations in this case, he was a principal, athletic director, and the assistant superintendent at the Quitman School District. The complainants in this case have made multiple allegations regarding incidents that occurred on campus, specifically in the locker room. The complainants have alleged that Mr. Stacks did not properly respond to incidents in the locker room. The initial recommendation by the Ethics Subcommittee in this case was for 2 years probation, training and coursework, reading, written reflections, and quarterly reports. This was based on a violation of Standard 2 of the Code of Ethics. Mr. Stacks had an evidentiary hearing in this case, at which time the PLSB argued that there was a preponderance of the evidence to support the Ethics Subcommittee's findings and recommendation. A hearing was held on June the 4th, 2025. The Ethics Hearing Subcommittee found that Mr. Stacks violated Standard 2 of the Code of Ethics. The Ethics Hearing Subcommittee found that Mr. Stacks should receive probation of his license for 3 months and provide proof that the educator has requested training on bullying by DESE by August the 1st of 2025. Today, the PLSB states that there is a preponderance of the evidence that Mr. Stacks violated the Code of Ethics. Thank you.
Okay. So at this time, we're going to go into questioning. You may be asked to testify. You can just stay there. So I'll start with, on my right, Mr. Bragg. Do you have any questions of either Mr. Eddings, Mr. Stack, or the department?
For Ms. James. We're strictly talking about the reporting here, aren't we? That's the issue.
The standards that were initially authorized were standards 1, 2, and 3. And the Ethics Subcommittee, when they reviewed, found that Mr. Stacks violated standards 1, let's see, I believe 1 and 2. I can go back and look at that. Oh, I'm sorry, 2 and just standard 2. And then at the evidentiary hearing, they also found that he violated standard 2.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so that's strictly about the reporting issue though, isn't it? Or is it?
That was authorized for us to investigate, but neither group found that there was a failure to report a violation of standard 3.
Okay, thank you.
No. Ms. Keener, we'll go to you. Do you have any questions?
Not just yet.
Ms. Hunter? Not right now. Mr. Wood?
Sure, I got some questions. Mr. Stacks, I'll begin with just some factual stuff. What has happened since the passage of the law requiring recording devices to be installed in locker rooms? Where is Quitman in that process?
We just completed this week installing fiber from our high school to the Quitman football field house, which was about I want to say board approved, about a $30,000 project to get fiber installed out there. We have cameras. After this incident, we immediately began work to install cameras with audio in the common areas of the field house, but we didn't have fiber there, so it's been a challenge trying to take satellite to satellite from building to building, and so the summer project was approved and the board has installed fiber.
When do you think that recording devices will be recording student activities in locker rooms?
I would hope very soon. We've got to get bids on the devices themselves. Our first step was to get fiber there, so we just didn't have luck with the cameras trying to use satellite, so we want to be sure that the fiber is going to be effective, and then we'll get those.
My next question is for the department. I would like some clarification on, Mr. Bragg brought up the reporting requirements.
Yes, sir.
My understanding in this situation is that there's consideration of several laws at play.
Yes, sir.
You have the DHS reporting requirements. You have questions concerning Title IX investigations.
Yes, sir.
And there was also bullying laws discussed in the record. So just briefly, could you help us understand maybe each one of these? Can you tell me how would a Title IX investigation begin? What are the requirements of a school when what do they have to know before they begin? Just can you give us a primer on how that would take place?
I don't know if I'm the appropriate person to explain those laws. I do believe we covered that in the evidentiary hearing, and we kind of went through all of the steps. My understanding as far as Mr. Stacks's involvement with Title IX is that he was on the Title IX team, and they would have met to determine if the conduct that had been reported met the definition of Title IX sexual harassment. And as far as the failure to report.
Well, can we stay on Title IX?
Sure.
For a second
Yes,
before
sir.
we go on? So, I mean, when does it become a requirement for a school to launch a Title IX investigation?
I'm not sure I'm the appropriate person to answer that question,
Does
sir.
the department have someone that can answer that with authority? I don't want guesses. I'm just wanting good advice.
I'm going to recommend that no one from the department come up and speak on that because it was not part of any of the testimony. It's not anything that's in the record, and so we're not prepared to speak on that.
That's fair. How would the PLSB know what the requirements of Title IX were?
Whenever we conduct our when we conducted our investigation in this case, we did interview the Title IX coordinator and talk to her about the steps. And based on Mr. Stacks's interview and the Title IX coordinator's interview, when the ethics subcommittee looked at this, they reviewed that and decided if they thought he violated the code of ethics in terms of Title IX. Does that,
I guess, but
that
you're
help?
talking about the Quitman review. Is that right?
Correct.
They reviewed the facts to determine whether a Title IX investigation should have begun.
They were looking specifically at, based on what they had, Mr. Stacks's role in that, and if anything he did or did not do violated the code of ethics. Does that help?
I guess. It leaves me a little frustrated that there have been 2 proceedings before ours, and one important question is, what were the requirements of the school district what were the requirements of individuals carrying out duties in the school district with regard to Title IX? And I feel like we don't have an answer to that here. How could the PLSB have known whether or not there was a violation of the students' rights under Title IX, whether certain individuals did not carry out their obligations under Title IX? I guess I'm frustrated by that, but we'll move on from Title IX. What about a DHS investigation? What types of let me start over. Is a DHS report, start over again. What type of conduct should be reported to DHS by a school administrator?
That, again, might require me to go into an explanation of the law. Our ethics subcommittee and our evidentiary hearing subcommittee are involved in education, and I believe that they're aware of the mandated reporting laws. And so their job is to look at the facts and listen to the testimony and make a decision.
You're talking about PLSB?
Yes. Yes.
I guess my concern is similar to the Title IX then. What standard were they explained applied to a school administrator? How would they answer the question, was this properly reported?
If you, in the rationale, it does explain that, let me find this here. As far as failure to report, it does say that there's no evidence that the educator knew of any allegations regarding potential sexual contact until May the 15th. I believe that is going to the duty to report.
Fair enough. I agree. I disagree with the conclusion, and I'll get to that later. But I guess I'm frustrated by the process. How could anyone review what occurred? You take the facts that you learn from the ground, from the situation, and then you need to answer the question, was a report properly filed? But you are never advised as to what the requirements are. How would PLSB know how to answer that question if they weren't explained the legal requirements?
If they do have a question about the law, I try to help them answer that. Is that what you're looking for? The best that I can.
Yeah, I guess
Yes.
I'm asking for that. I mean, should a school administrator report any conduct that appears to rise to the level of mistreatment, or does it have to be sexual in nature?
I think that I believe the law the law has different requirements when it is students versus an adult and a student. And I believe that the PLSB came to the conclusion that because it was students, that the obligation to report did not arise until there was sexual contact alleged or the educator learned of that. I believe that was the conclusion.
Okay.
Does that help?
I don't know.
Okay.
Not sure how. What about concern of a lack of supervision? If a school administrator learns that bad things happened under his watch, is he obligated to go tell DHS, bad things happened in our locker rooms, I was the supervisor, you should investigate whether I properly supervised?
I'm not sure I know the answer to that question. They found that he was not aware of anything until May the 10th, whenever he.
May 15th.
May the 10th as far as the conduct in the
okay.
locker room, and then sexual
general, I
May the 15th. Yes, sir.
Okay, well then, move on from DHS reporting and ask about the bullying laws.
Yes, sir.
What is a school district's obligation under bullying laws?
Yes, sir. We covered that step by step in the evidentiary hearing. We went over every single step of the law, and Mr. Sachs did admit in the evidentiary hearing that there were some steps that they did not take, and he admitted to that, and the evidentiary hearing subcommittee did find that he violated bullying law.
Yes. Okay, all right. Is there a separate law for hazing? Does it have a separate legal definition?
I am not sure. I can't answer that question as I stand here today.
I think for now, that's all the questions I have right now.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Owen, no questions?
One more.
Please.
An incident occurs that needs to be reported. Who is responsible for reporting?
Everyone that works in a school is a mandated reporter.
But I mean, is it who would be the first person? The one that sees the incident and knows about it?
Yes.
Okay, so there's no chain of command. You don't have to have permission to report?
Correct.
Okay.
I do have one follow-up question for Mr. Stacks. I know that you had to do the bullying training by today. Have you completed that?
I had to request it by today.
Oh, you had to request it,
No,
okay.
ma'am, I have not yet.
Okay. Assuming you will.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely, yes,
All right.
ma'am.
Yes, Ms. Keener.
Yes, thank you. Forgive if there's background noise. I apologize. I'll get back on mute as soon as I can. But I had a question for Ms. James on district policy. Part of the PLSB hearing and the decisions, we've heard about the different laws, through DHS. What about district policy? Is that on them to determine whether he followed district policy to a T?
On the part of the PLSB? Yes, ma'am. They would review the district policy and make a decision regarding that. Yes, ma'am.
So, and maybe I missed it, but as I'm looking through the policies that were provided by Mr. Stacks, on, 522 is the bullying policy, 523 is the sexual harassment policy, 6.1, of course, includes participation in football, that it shall coincide with the AAA rules, the court-ordered probation. Again, in 6.7, it mentions abiding by the rules and regulations of AAA. AAA, it's Article 2, Section 1, Rule 1. I've got a list of probably 12 things here that it seems, based on the things that were provided, there were district policy violations, but I didn't see anything in the two groups in their findings. Did I miss it?
Yes, ma'am. The ethics subcommittee did review the policy, specifically the policy regarding continuing to participate in extracurricular activities while on criminal probation. And the PLSB ethics subcommittee read both parts of that, including the part where I believe the principal has discretion, and they found that it was clear that they should not have been allowed to participate in extracurricular activities while on criminal probation. However, the ethics hearing subcommittee heard testimony regarding that and read the policies and found that the principal did have discretion.
What about, did they review, I didn't see anything on the bullying policy or the sexual harassment policy or any of the AAA policies. Did they review those as well?
If they were in the record, they did, yes, ma'am.
One of the district policies is on weapons. We've read a lot about that. Or really just any of the infractions and consequences that, the class 1, infractions of horseplay, class 2, fighting and bullying, class 3, weapons, physical injury, hazing, sexual harassment, terrorist threatening, that all of those things have specific consequences. Mm-hmm. Was any of that in there?
If it was in, I would have to look at the record and verify, but if it was in the evidence, they did review it when they made their decision.
And so are we to assume that because it wasn't mentioned in the two IDRs that well, I guess it's hard to say that we can't assume anything. Because they didn't mention that they found that he violated them or not, as opposed to the other things where they were clearly stated we did not find any evidence of this. I guess what I'm trying to get at is the aggravating factor of multiple violations. Mm-hmm. We know that there was severe negative impact to the students. I also believe that it was negative, moderate to severe impact on the community and multiple stakeholders, multiple violations, and we know that the educator is experienced or a veteran educator. And so to me, there are so many aggravating factors here that, yes, even though just a single of the 3 standards were found to be true in the final IDR, with those 4 aggravating factors, I believe that it needs to go beyond just a 3-month probation.
Yes, ma'am, and I will say with the ethics subcommittee, when they stated does not have any prior violations, that's likely prior ethics violations. Really, all I can tell you is what's in the rationale, and I'm sorry if that's frustrating.
Thank you. I know we're all just doing what we've been given to read and understand, and so I know a lot of my questions are hard to answer, but just trying to figure out the best way to look at aggravating factors, particularly when it's a single standard violated multiple times.
I understand. Yes, ma'am. And I do want to add that during our ethics subcommittee meeting, I can't do this at the evidentiary hearing, but I do stand ready with the law in hand if there is something that is an alleged violation of the law. So I do provide that information to them, and I'm there to answer questions if that helps clarify.
Well, and does that include AAA? In their district handbook, in the student handbook, in multiple spots, it says that the district shall abide by rules and regulations of AAA, that participation shall coincide with the rules and regulations of AAA. And so then when you look at the AAA things, I didn't know that, I don't know that PLSB got that granular. So I wasn't sure if that was included.
I can go back and look at the record, but if it's something that's in the record and the state board wants to consider whether or not Mr. Stacks followed that, that's up to you. But I can go back and look on that. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a follow-up question regarding school policy for Mr. Stacks. This is, I have a hard time, you know my position from the Mars hearing is that I have a hard time finding ambiguity in here that is subject to interpretation that gives a principal the ability to override some of these. So I want to ask you about one in particular. 6.1.A, number 1, says participation in interscholastic activities shall coincide with the rules and regulations of the Arkansas Activities Association. Was it the principal's discretion to disregard that and not require that interscholastic activities would coincide with the rules and regulations of the AAA?
What particular AAA policy are you talking
Any
about?
of them. Did the principal at Quitman High School have the ability to override the AAA rules and regulations?
No. No. And can I speak a little bit about these policies in our handbook? So this policy first came up in question in this situation in the summer. So it would have been the summer of '24. And I'd had a staff member who came to me and said, and showed me a social media post. Ollie Allenbaugh had posted something on her social media that Mr. Stacks was violating policy at Quitman, in specific in regard to this allowing students on parole to participate, or on probation, I'm sorry, not parole, probation to participate. So I was familiar with the policy and knew that, in the past this had come up and had always been told or believed that that was within my discretion according to our handbook. So I went to my superintendent and said, here's this post in regard to this situation that's going on. I want to be sure that you agree that I have discretion where this policy is concerned relating to these students who are on probation. He did. He agreed. That's a policy. That's the way that we had always followed that policy. Just in case, he recommended, we call Friday Firm, ask Chaim his position and belief around this policy, and he conferred with us that yes, that I have that. And to speak more on that, I mean, honestly, in this situation especially, I'm glad that we have a policy in place that allows me to use my discretion as principal, because situations with kids are not black and white, ever. And you have to be able to take into consideration a student's home life, a student's history, a student's behavioral history, a student's 504, IEP, behavior plan, all of which 4 of these students had 504s, IEPs, behavior plans. And those things have to, as an administrator, we have to be able to look at that and take those kind of things in consideration when we are considering discipline for kids. And thank you for allowing me to elaborate on that, but that's where I stand with that policy.
Well, I just respectfully disagree. Okay.
What can I ask what you would have had me done differently when I go to my superintendent and ask my superintendent to interpret this, and then we also go to our legal counsel and ask them to interpret, and I get answers of yes, you have discretion? Should I have said, I'm sorry, no, my superintendent, you don't know, and my legal counsel, you don't know either?
I'm happy to answer that. In fact, I think that's a large part of what we're doing today,
Sure.
is reviewing this. I believe you should have enforced policy 6.1.A.11 as written. Any student that is on court-ordered probation will not be allowed to participate in any extracurricular activities. It's black and white. It's super simple. I think that you should have not allowed the perpetrators of violence on the victims to have participated in football activities with the victims. And I don't think that you should have chosen days where the victims couldn't come to practice because you were creating a pathway for the perpetrators to come to practice.
I did not. We did not.
You were the athletic director at Quitman Public Schools, And I'm sure that Coach Mars answered to you. I have a hard time getting into an argument with you over who created the practice schedule. It's not about the practice schedule, it's about the enforcement of the policy. If you had called Coach Mars and said, hey, kids on court-ordered probation can't play football, so those kids, tell them to keep working out and come back next year when they're off of court-ordered probation, would have been a very simple solution, and I suspect that Coach Mars probably would have.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but also you're saying that I should have done that. So even though like student 6 and I forget the other numbers, I'm following their IEP behavior plans that tell me that with IDEA and least restrictive environments, I'm supposed to exclude them from those things when their behavior plans and their IEPs tell me I cannot?
They excluded themselves, sir. They acted in a manner that got themselves in front of a judge in Cleburne County who ordered that they were on probation. And the school had a policy that said if you are on court-ordered probation, not only just court-ordered, we're not talking about these kids did something out in the community. They were, underage drinking or had other substances that they weren't supposed to. It's not something that just happened off in a field on a Saturday night. We're talking about things that occurred in the locker room to the kids that this policy protects the most. And you chose to overlook this policy to create a pathway for the perpetrator to infringe on the victim's right to be on the football team free of intimidation and threat.
No, sir, that's not at all what I did.
You can argue that might not have been what you intended to do, but it's the effect of what happened.
No, sir.
But I don't have any other questions about the policy.
Any other discussion?
I do have more things to say about the overall situation. I believe that Mr. Stacks had prior knowledge of significant problems in the athletic department, and this comes from his document that he produced. It's bait stamped Stacks_006. It's an email of September 15th, 2023, which was about a half a school year before the events in question. He told Coach Mars, "We have a problem. Do not leave kids unsupervised. In addition to all the other issues we've had with this group already this year, from mistreating locker rooms," and then he goes on to say, "I'm getting very concerned. I need you to handle this and get this group under control. Kids cannot be trusted." But the record then is replete with examples of significant misbehavior occurring in the athletic department throughout the 2023-2024 school year. Kids were shoved in lockers and hit with footballs. They were shot with Orby and or BB guns. Some claimed that they were whipped with a bullwhip. Others simply said a bullwhip was present to intimidate them. There were boxing matches in the locker room that school year. I deduced the fact that it occurred that school year. Mr. Mars told us that it happened a couple years before. I was not quick enough on my feet with the evidence to know the file name of that video includes a date, 2024-03-26. That's March 26, 2024, just a few weeks before the May 10th revelation. So in the school year, you have a boxing match going on in the locker room. There's fighting. There's video that was provided to us of a very large kid beating up one of the victims. You have one of the victims claiming to have been beaten with a shoe on his bare bottom. And then, of course, there's the almost endless, almost daily descriptions of humping. And we have video of one of the instances of one of the victims being held down, having his mouth held open, and the perpetrator telling another student in the room, "I've got his mouth open, put your balls in his mouth." The investigative report that Quitman hired attorney Emily Runyon to investigate, and You know, Kai, you have exception with the fact that I know the complainants, but I also know the investigator for Quitman. I went to law school with Emily Runyon. I like Emily Runyon. I consider her a friend too. But
I don't take exception that you know the complaints. My only exception is this, Mr. Wood, is that you've communicated ex parte with the complainants.
I'm sorry, can you go to the microphone? I can't hear you.
That you have communicated with the complainants on an almost ongoing basis since before this investigation began.
yes,
That's my only
9 years,
exception.
Kai. I was on the Little Rock Community Advisory Board with Melanie Fox.
Were regarding this, the case that we're here to talk about.
And some of the communications that you've complained of occurred on the day that the parents appeared before us and spoke in the public comment. Your argument would seem to suggest that the mother's presence at the state board meeting in September of 2024 disqualified this board from reviewing. Yes, it is, because it's the same thing. They stood here and made their pleas to us, and it got our attention that started the investigation. And that evening, one of the formal complainants, who's not one of the mothers, sent me a text showing me a picture of the size difference between the boys. This is minor stuff that you're complaining about, Kai, but I only pointed out that I also know and respect the investigator that was hired by the Quitman Public Schools. But her investigation reported that it was more than boys, occasional boys will be boys. She said some boys endured more than that. The district athletic program should aggressively and proactively address this issue. She concluded supervision was not as conscientious as the district should expect. My belief is that the response to the allegations of May 10th and the days following that was very poor. On May 10th, 2024 at 7:57 p.m., this is in the record, it's page 89 of the report of investigation, a text message from one of the dads tells Coach Mars, I've talked to 2 kids besides my son, and these guys have actually stuck their dick to butt and whipped them with bullwhip. I'm beyond mad. I'll be at practice Monday. That text message to Coach Mars was at 7:57 p.m. 1 minute later, Coach Mars, according to records provided by the educator, 1 minute later, Coach Mars called Principal Stacks, Athletic Director Stacks, and told him what the father had reported. A DHS report was not made for 5 more days, not until May 15th, 2024. This was excused by Mr. Stacks. Mr. Stacks' boss, Dennis Truxler, the superintendent, excused this 5-day passage of time, saying in documents in the record that this amount of time was necessary because the district needed to investigate the claims to know whether or not a report needed to be made.
Mr. Wood, I believe you leave off one important fact. After Coach Mars received that text message, not only did he call Mr. Mars that night,
Stacks.
not only did he call Mr. Stacks that night, he called the parent back who sent him that text message.
But he didn't call DHS. Neither did Mr. Stacks.
He called the parent back.
That's irrelevant. That's not the question of failure to report, Kai. The question of failure to report is what did they know, when did they know it, and what did they report? On May 10th.
I think the relevant issue is what did Mr. Mars know after he had the conversation with the parent after he received that text message? Now let's not gloss over that, because I think that's important.
And I know you're speaking about Coach Mars, but the conversation that Coach Mars and I had never spoke of any type of sexual assault allegation. It spoke quickly, as you said a minute later, of a conversation that he had just had at a parent that he was going to address first thing Monday morning. When Ms. White appeared in my office on Wednesday, May the 15th, and she alleged, and I can tell you her alleged allegations, penises on butt, student sexually abused, whipped bare bottom, penetrating with fingers, all of those things, all of which did not happen, sir. All of which were exaggerated. When she alleged those things in my office and gave me reasonable suspicion to report, I immediately reported. And also to
from your own testimony,
you
you just described a 2-day, because you reported it on May 15th. You're saying
Wednesday.
that you learned You're saying that you learned it on Monday, May 13th.
I learned about no.
Well,
When
that's what you just said.
When Coach Mars called me Friday night, no information about any alleged sexual conduct. Then when I met with Miss White in my office the next week, I believe it was on Wednesday, when she alleged all of these things, even though I wondered if they were all true, because our investigation had not turned that up. Those days that we'd done the investigation, I reported immediately. And also to speak to you, if you don't mind, about your knowledge and friendship and communications with the complainants. Sir, I never had an opportunity to text or call you. I've never had that same opportunity to call and tell you that many of these things are exaggerated. And that Ali Alaba, I believe, has a deep hatred for me prior to all of this. And that this exaggeration and all of these things that have been said afterward began when she began
Mr. Staggs,
getting involved.
you actually could have emailed me, because lots of people from your
I don't
community
have your
have
phone number,
emailed
sir.
me.
I can't
and
text you.
emailed every member of this board, I suspect.
I can't
don't
text
know.
you. I can't text you and call you. You said you had had hundreds of conversations with her. I can't do that. Coach Mars couldn't
Over
do
a
that.
9-year period of time.
Still, I have not had that opportunity. Had I known I could have called or texted you, I would have been on the phone with you.
You had people
To
from
tell
your
you that,
community
listen, these things
email
they're
me.
saying are not true.
You had people from your community email
I didn't
me.
know that was even an opportunity. I thought that was ex parte and improper for me to do.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt because I'm done. Here's where we have to decide. Did he violate the standard of ethics? I do have a question for something you just said. I want to go back to it. So you said the complainant came to your office on Wednesday, but you said you thought it was questionable because your investigation had not brought anything to light. What did you know at that point when you met with her?
I
just
knew
wanna
that there
give
had been a large cases of bullying,
Okay.
students picking on other kids. I knew at that point that a student had allegedly brought an Orbeez gun at some point.
Okay.
I knew that there was an allegation of a whip, although the kids denied it at that point.
So was the
that
first
all.
time you learned about the sexual allegation was that Wednesday?
Yes.
And you reported it on Wednesday,
Yes.
May the 15th? Okay. That's what I need to know. I'll be honest. We had a 377-page transcript. We had a 470-page investigative report.
I had an 11-hour hearing.
I'm
11
aware.
hours.
But I just want you to understand.
Yes, ma'am.
We've read 700, or at least I have. I can only speak for me. I've read
Yes, ma'am.
700 pages of this report.
Yes,
Do
ma'am.
I think that you
Thank
violated
you.
the standard of ethics? Yes. So my question to the rest of my colleagues is, we got to figure out, is it 1, 2, 3, all of the above? Is it just 1, just 2, just 3? And then we'll move on to the sanctions, unless there's any other discussion. And I'm open to the discussion. Dr. Arnold?
Well,
May
would-
I follow up with something?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Keener.
Okay. This is a question for Mr. Stacks really quickly. 2 things. Tell me about the decision you made to allow one of the students, and forgive me, I've got all the numbers mixed up in my head as well, to be excused from semester exams that May.
His mother requested that he not, she told us that he would not return to campus, that he feared for his safety, and she did not want him having to look in the eyes of his, I think the word she used was assaulters, and that he would not return to campus, and she asked what we could do about semester test.
And so your decision to allow that, to allow the excusal would.
What
to
I
me,
did is when she made that statement and she asked that question, I left my office and went and reviewed his days, his absences, his grades, and his test scores to see if we have an incentive program at Quitman where students can earn reward days based upon their tests if everything else aligned, and he had met those requirements. When she left, I told her that, but I needed to consult with my superintendent to be sure that that was okay, and that's what I did.
So.
Stop.
There's
no commentary from the crowd.
Essentially you agree that the unwelcomed contact effectively permitted the student to be denied access to the educational program or activity. Essentially, it was such an extenuating circumstance that it allowed for the child to be excluded from academics or an activity, which is the exact definition of when a Title IX investigation should be initiated. So I think that your actions in allowing that further prove that that should have been initiated. So
Correct.
know
I had that
neither
conversation
one
with
of
our
them-
Title IX coordinator as well. Yes, when Mr. Truxler and I met with the Title IX coordinator, and that is, she informed me of that as well, yes.
Okay. So the other thing is that I just wanted to comment before I kind of pass off is, you asked earlier, what should you have done when your council, your superintendent, all are saying, yes, you do have that discretion. And I agree that when this is read in its entirety, you absolutely had discretion. And according to your district policy, which references AAA policy, that does not excuse you from your responsibility. And I think that's what's happening here is, yes, you absolutely had the discretion to make the decision that you thought was right. Unfortunately, we believe that you're standing here today because you are responsible for that decision. And this is, you know, we clearly disagree with that decision.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We do. And again, I would just point back to, like, for instance, with 4 of these 6 kids who either have IEPs, 504s, 2 of them have behavior plans, that I believe that that's why that is in place, to give me the discretion to look at those things to best meet the needs of all my kids, because those are not black and white situations. And Ms. Keener, if you don't mind, while I have you on something that came up in Coach Mars's hearing that I was here for, that I would like to have the chance to respond to, because he was in a situation where I think he was really taken back and couldn't think. But you mentioned the culture of our school, and that's something that as a 10-year principal at Quitman Schools, that's very important to me. And so I would like for you to know that culture is something that I take very seriously, and it has led to the great successes that we've had at Quitman, because I think, as you know, as an educator, student performance and culture go hand in hand. If you've got a poor culture in a school district, you're not going to have high-performing kids. And I'd love to invite you to Quitman. And if any of you have never been, please come. Just show up any day. Culture and student performance, we know, are directly connected. Our kids are excelling at Quitman. We have 3 schools at Quitman. An elementary school, by the most recent ADE report card, is a B. Quitman Middle School, an A. Quitman High School, an A. Almost 50% of our elementary students for the first time are reading at grade level or above. Over 40 athletic and FFA state championships or runner-up state championships in 10 years. Our FFA and our football programs are the fastest growing programs on our campus. We've had 500 students, almost 500 students, school choice to us in 10 years. In the last 2 years, 150 students have school choiced to Quitman, including Miss White and Miss Edwards' boys, who are both school choice students. We've grown from just under 600 students to almost 1,000 in 10 years. Things like these things don't happen in schools with poor cultures. And I say that not for me, but for the staff that we've been able to put into place, including Coach Mars, who care about kids and who do what's best for kids. Are we perfect? Are we going to make decisions in error sometime? Of course. But like with this situation with the policy, where I questioned it, I immediately did what I knew to best, was to go to my superintendent and go to our legal counsel, who assured me that I was following policy.
And I'll make a comment on that. My opinion, did you have the discretion? No, but I don't fault you because you went to leadership. Just like Mr. Wood said, if you had gone to Mr. Mars and asked him to do something, he would have followed it because you were his supervisor. I don't fault you for that. I do disagree to an extent that a 504 plan overrides school policy always. And the reason being, if they were to harm another kid, just because their 504 plan doesn't mean you just leave them in the room.
Okay. And I respect that,
okay.
because he had a behavior plan as well, and he's the only one of I had one with an IEP of the kids that Audie calls the perpetrators. One has an IEP, one had a 504, one is a homeless student, and the other severe trauma. And so I just, again, those are not things that I'm comfortable putting out and identifying kids with them.
And we shouldn't.
But as an administrator, I'm thankful for the policy that gives me discretion to be able to consider those things when I'm talking about punishing kids and giving up on kids and doing what's best for kids.
It is hard to hear an adult say things like that, because kids need punishment for bad behavior. It is not giving up on a kid to suspend a kid from one football season in the 8th grade or the 7th
They
grade.
were severely punished, sir. I can tell you exactly the consequences because I bet in your conversations with Audie, she did not tell you all of
I have not
these
had
things.
conversations with Audie, sir.
I can tell you the consequences, sir. So
I've read the record. I've spent a week reading this record.
the students who were most severely involved did not compete or participate for the entire remainder of that school year through the summer. And then the primary student, he dressed out in a locker room. The student with the IEP and the behavior plan dressed out in a locker room by himself for the entire next school year. Until a point at which I talked to council about it, and he said, that's enough.
Listen, you can get mad and
No, I can get hurt, and it's not that I'm angry, it's that I'm hurt for how you've spoken about our school. You've never even been, and that I haven't had the same opportunities with you that they've had, sir. I haven't gotten to text you and plead to you.
I have not had 3 conversations with Audie Allenboss since last September, okay? So this idea that you're painting that she and I talk every night to plan how we're going to punish Quitman schools is ridiculous, okay? She talked to me on the day that 2 or 3 moms came to us. There was no investigation. There was no procedure in place. It was not ex parte, sir. She sent me a picture of the size of the 2 boys involved. One very little, one very big. You've seen the picture.
But Ms. Keener and Ms. Fox have had the same conversation, so it's not just you. It's Ms. Keener and Ms. Fox. I've seen the text messages.
That's not part of the record, so we're not going to.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
It
It's
just
irrelevant.
seems very unfair, and I think that that's where my passion comes in, and my feeling of being severely mistreated, and Coach Mars also being severely mistreated before this body, passing down judgment upon us for things based upon information that you may have gotten from somewhere else or not completely read the record and not considered the great things that have also happened at our school.
Madam Chair.
So Jeff, may I respond real quickly?
Hold on, Ms. Keener, Dr. Arnold deferred to you next time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to speak some context here, and it may be elementary. It's not going into the exact details, but it kind of frames things for me going into the questions that you called us to consider. I'm relatively new to the board. I'm not a lawyer, but I have been in school leadership for years in similar positions as you. I want to go on record as saying I respect the PLSB and their hard work. They carry the water. They do an enormous amount of work to supervise cases that are brought to them and to make decisions. But this particular decision, as Mr. Mars's case was pulled, and once it's pulled, it's our duty as state board members to revisit and to review. And that's just duty, and that's what we're doing here. Attorney, you mentioned the words inextricably linked, so going on that phrase, there is linkage here. Bad deeds were done, questionable decisions were made, that's in the document stating so. So this is where I land right now for my own thinking, that in your roles as assistant superintendent, principal, athletic director, there's an enormous amount of supervision and responsibility that comes with that, to lead these events to a reasonable end and to be on top, if not in advance of situations, and to protect students involved. And so it seems to me that through our deliberations with Coach Mars, he took the hit big time for this whole narrative after it was revisited. And so in that they're inextricably linked. It seems to me that your roles as assistant super, as principal, as athletic director is even more highlighted as the supervisor of that person that has been disciplined. So it's just funky for me to see those 3 roles, and I'll say it for the 3rd time, athletic director, principal, and assistant superintendent, kind of reduce the levels of responsibility that were placed upon the coach.
And if I can speak to that, sir, I think that kind of goes back to what one very small piece of that too is also back to Mr. Wood's email that he read aloud a moment ago that I had sent to Coach Mars. That document, along with many other emails, many weekly newsletters, many evidence of staff professional development, multiple copies of written reprimands that I had issued to staff members just over the course of 1 year about my expectations for supervision. So that email is not the only email that was provided. There are multiple emails in there, like I said, multiple newsletters, evidence of our staff professional development, evidence of professional development that I have with coaches every year that highlight and include my expectations, strong expectation for supervision. And that's what that email was directed to. And I think there was maybe even a basketball coach on that email as well, for not leaving kids in a gym or a field house unsupervised at any time. Not being at your assigned duty when you're supposed to be on lunch duty or breakfast duty, and in those reminders. And I didn't just send emails or hold professional developments or have trainings on them. I wrote staff members up like I have for 10 years. And evidence of, I think there's 3 of them in 1 year that all included evidence. And I filed an ethics complaint against one coach because he let a student leave campus and wasn't being supervised. So it's not like in my role is those 3 pieces, I sat back and just expected them to know. I held them accountable. I monitored them. I wrote them up as it was necessary. And I know that you're right. It is a very important responsibility that I have to ensure that. But at the same time, even as an administrator, I have a cafeteria duty in the morning. I have a lunch duty in the afternoon. And I have over 600 students as a principal that I supervise. I can't be everywhere at all times. But I can follow up with my staff and monitor my staff and work to ensure that they are supervising kids who are directly under their supervision and their responsibility, and write them up when they don't, or don't renew them when they don't, or send the necessary reminders and follow up. And I do that, and I have done that for 10 years.
Yeah, well, at least one wasn't listening, and it shows little respect for your voice.
There were 5 over there, though, sir. There were 5 coaches in that locker room at all time. And in their interviews, you can see that they're all pretty consistent about what they knew and what they heard or didn't hear.
Ms. Keener, did you have a comment?
Yes. I want to respond to sorry, I know there's a lot of background noise, to the culture discussion earlier. I have visited equipment, actually spent some time with, forgive me, I don't know if she's still there, but you had a phenomenal elementary STEM teacher that held a robotics training. And I came and spent time and learned and got to know people that supported me in my role. It's been 10 years though. I would love to come back and bring us. I love a good school visit. And I think it's highly possible that you can have phenomenal things going on and a poor culture within the locker room, which is what I was referring to, that culture was on the team. That's not what we're here to decide today though. I think it is, we know that there was an agreed upon violation of the standards. I also believe there to be aggravating factors that perhaps should have led to more severe consequences on your part. So getting back to that, I'll defer to the chair on the next steps for what our action should be.
That's where I was going, Madam Chair, and then I stopped. But the not listening to the mandates of the athletic director, principal, and assistant superintendent seemed to show a lack of respect, and therefore that does impugn to some extent this so-called healthy culture. It's just not fitting together that there's strong leadership over these kinds of aberrations.
Is there any other discussion? No? Okay. Well, then on that note, we have 3 things to consider, which is whether or not the code of ethics was violated. Open for discussion. Would you remind me of the 3? I know one was inappropriate conduct, which there was none.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
number 2 and number 3.
I can tell you the standards that were authorized, and then I can just briefly go over the decisions of both groups, if that would be helpful. The Ethics Subcommittee initially authorized us to investigate Standard 1 regarding a professional relationship with each student inside and outside the classroom, specifically inappropriate interaction with students. And the other standard, or the second standard, was Standard 2, competence regarding his or her professional practice, inclusive of professional and ethical behavior skills, knowledge, dispositions, and responsibilities relating to his or her organizational positions, specifically exhibited inappropriate disposition, inclusive of professional and ethical behavior, and then violated district, state, or federal policies or law. And then Standard 3 was the last standard that was authorized, and that was addressing the failure to report and the honestly fulfilling reporting obligations. And then the Ethics Subcommittee found that there was a violation of the 2 subparts of Standard 2, but not failed to report or inappropriate interaction with students. The Ethics Hearing Subcommittee found that there was only a violation of Standard 2, specifically district, state, federal policies or law.
Just a quick question, and they found he didn't fail to report on Title IX and for the DHS as well? No.
It was specifically DHS
Okay.
for failure to report. The Title IX would have been included in Standard 2.
Oh, in Standard 2, okay.
Yes, the failure to follow federal law.
Okay.
So are you ready for a motion, Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we find that he did violate standards 2A and 2B.
Okay, we have a motion from Ms. Keener that Mr. Sachs violated Standard 2A and 2B.
Correct.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wood. Do you want to do a roll call? Let's just do a roll call on that. Mr. Bragg?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Ms. Keener?
Yes.
Ms. Hunter? Yes. Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Dr. Arnold?
Yes.
With that, motion passes. All right. Sanction?
Well,
The current recommendation is 3 months probation. My
That is the
understanding.
most recent recommendation.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
can I make a motion that we find that there was a violation of Standard 1?
I think that would have been in our motion.
That would have been in the previous motion.
Okay.
Do you want to add Standard 1?
Well, I guess my proposal would be to vote on each of them separately. Is that possible? Is that proper?
You typically do all of the violations in one motion,
I
so
know.
if we want, can we add to?
You could
Basically
do
redo the
another motion that there was a violation of Standard 1.
Yeah. Oh, then I would like to do that.
Hold on, do we have to vacate the previous motion?
No, I
Okay.
believe you could just do another one.
Repeat standard 1 then.
So that's what you want, so motion on the
Oh,
table?
well, no, I'd love to hear it.
Sure.
Okay,
Standard
yes.
1 is that an educator maintains a professional relationship with each student, both in and outside the classroom.
Yes.
What's your basis? What evidence on that one?
Sure.
Or just like your rationale?
Sure. That Mr. Stacks failed to protect younger, smaller students from bullying, hazing, sexual harassment by older, bigger students, that he showed a preference to bullies and court-convicted perpetrators over victims.
We would just, if you could just vote on Standard 1, and then we can add the rationale later, and I will try to write as fast as I can to get all that down.
No, I understand.
Okay.
But
I'm
that-
just curious
that's
what-
the reason-
Oh, yes, ma'am, I
Yeah,
understand.
no, that's the reason
Yes,
for the
ma'am.
motion, that he did not maintain a professional relationship with each student by making decisions that did not protect the victims of the bullying and harassment and sexual harassment that occurred in the locker rooms.
Yes, ma'am. It is more about interactions. However, it can include lack of supervision. But it seems like the rationale that you described would go more to standard 2. However, when we get to the rationale, you could make that part of it.
Because originally in standard 2, they voted no, and so we just voted yes that he had violated that. So we can do another motion, or we can call that under your A, either one.
I maintain my motion.
Okay,
But
that's fine.
I'm one of 7 here, so
Okay. Do you have any questions?
I suspect I need a second.
Yes, yes. Is there, okay, motion violated standard 1. Motion made by Mr. Wood. Do I have a second? I think hearing none, your motion fails. Is that correct
That's fine.
procedure? Okay. Any other motions, violations? All right, then let's move on to sanctions. Ms. Keener, did you have a recommendation based on your violation motion?
Yes, I'd like to uphold the Ethics Subcommittee's recommendation for a 2-year suspension.
It was a probation. So do you mean a 2-year probation or a 2-year suspension?
Wait, I'm sorry, the hearing subcommittee.
The hearing
said
one was
3 months.
the original was a 2-year probation, which Mr. Stack rejected, and then they came back after the hearing with a 3-month probation. Am I right on that?
Yes, and I would ask Ms. Keener, if you're making the motion, if you would include the trainings, coursework, and fine, if that is what you were asking for, ma'am.
There you go.
I think I need just another second.
You're
here.
fine. Does anybody else have a recommendation?
So what she's moving is, are we to consequences already?
Yes.
Okay. In this interim then, could sorry to take the time, but the potential mitigating factors and potential aggravating factors be considered,
This is the time.
please?
Yes. Mr. Wood, did you have, I thought you were about to say something.
Am I?
The floor is
And
yours, sir.
I'm referencing page 3 of Appendix D of the sanctioning guidelines.
Could we go ahead and vote on the sanction first before the rationale? Would that be?
Yes, but I think they're trying to determine what that's going to be based on the aggravating and
Okay.
mitigating circumstances.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Did you have any, Dr. Arnold, that you wanted to?
Oh, I thought we would just look at that list.
Oh,
And I didn't know if it was worthy of reading or just citing.
So I think I'd like to kind of meet in the middle. Looking at the guidelines, based on the 2, let me pull them up, sorry, I've got a million tabs open. So based on the violations, the beginning sanction is probation. Understanding that aggravating factors can escalate that. So I think I'd like to move that for a 1-year suspension with given trainings, and I think the hearing subcommittee said no fine, but given the previously recommended trainings, and then I'll do the rationale after. Is that correct? We'll wait for a second if there's one.
Yes, ma'am. Would you like the $250 fine recommended by the Ethics Subcommittee?
The hearing subcommittee said no fine, correct?
Correct. They only recommended the proof of, okay, so just the trainings and coursework recommended by the Ethics Subcommittee, no fine.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
okay, I just want to confirm, you're saying suspension and not probation?
I am. I'm thinking 1-year suspension.
Not followed by any probation?
Followed, well,
Might I suggest a 2-year probation, Ms. Keener?
instead of
Because
suspension?
that would mirror the sanction that we imposed on Coach Mars.
So a 1 year suspension with a 2 year probation, or just 2 years probation is what you're asking?
1 year suspension
2 years probation.
and 2 years probation to follow the suspension.
Okay, for
Is what I'm
acoustic-
suggesting to
Yes,
Ms.
and for
Keener.
acoustic's sake, given the Zoom and the background noise, can we just restate what we just said?
All right, I want to make sure. I have, Ms. Keener has made a motion for a 1 year suspension of his license, followed by 2 years of probation, as well as the recommended trainings provided by the subcommittee hearing. No fine. Yes? Okay. Ms. Keener has made that motion. I need a second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Wood. We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Bragg?
No.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Ms. Keener?
Yes.
Ms. Hunter?
No.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Dr. Arnold?
No.
Falls to me, and my vote is no. All right. Do we have a new motion for sanctions?
So I'll make a motion for a 2-year probation. All of the learnings and trainings, yes, trainings and no fine. Well, actually, retract that, $250 fine. So basically reinstating the earlier funding, the earlier sanctions.
Okay. So I have a motion by Ms. Hunter for a 2-year probation, the recommended trainings of the subcommittee, and then a $250 fine. Do I have a second on that motion?
Well,
Hearing none?
second.
Second? You want a second, Ellen?
Mhm.
Okay. A second by Dr. Arnold. We will do a roll call vote. Mr. Bragg?
No.
Mr. Henderson?
No.
Ms. Keener?
Yes.
Ms. Hunter?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
I will reluctantly vote yes.
Dr. Arnold?
Yes.
With that, motion passes. All right. Now we have to vote on the rationale.
And I'm happy to review the rationale from both groups if you would like.
Could we do the
it's
one
long.
from the original,
Yes.
since that's what this mirrors closest?
Yes, ma'am. It's long. Exhibited inappropriate disposition inclusive of professional and ethical behavior. The educator failed to ensure that there were proper supervision procedures in place. Because procedure safeguards were not put in place, students were negatively impacted. While the educator followed the letter of the law, he failed to properly follow the intent of the law, failed to follow district policy, specifically 6.1.11. Any student that is on court-ordered probation, in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, or assigned to alternative school for disciplinary reasons will not be allowed to participate in any extracurricular activities, field trips, or overnight activities in the student handbook. Educator violated licensed personnel policy 3.27 in that he failed to put proper supervision policies in place. The level of negative impact on students was low to moderate for some students and high for a few students. The school put in place procedures and additional safeguards to ensure the conduct did not reoccur. There is no evidence of malicious intent or willful violation of the Code of Ethics. However, he should have known that his actions violated the Code of Ethics. There is no evidence that the educator was aware of any misbehavior in the locker room until May the 10th. There is no evidence that the educator knew of any allegations regarding potential sexual contact until May 15th. The educator has 24 years of experience. The educator does not have any prior violations.
So I make a motion that we adopt the rationale as just described, with the exception of there is no evidence that the educator was aware of any misbehavior in the locker room until May 10th. I think that needs to be stricken.
Motion by Ms. Keener to adopt the rationale, Ms. Hunter, I'm sorry. Except to strike the proposed language that he did not have awareness. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Henderson. We'll do a roll call. Mr. Bragg?
Aye.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Ms. Keener?
Yes.
Ms. Hunter?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
No.
Dr. Arnold?
Yes.
With that, motion passes.
Okay,
What
I've
else
got
do you
it.
need from us?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Alright. With that, we will move on. Thank you, Mr. Stack. I'm gonna recommend a 5-minute break for bathroom and everything else, and then we'll come back and we'll do consent. Miss Stephanie White.
Good morning, everybody. My husband has not been able to come. He provides for our family. He asked if I could read a statement for him today. Do any of you object to that? Quentin White, father of Eli White. I would like to start by thanking each member of the Board of Education for your commitment to ensure the safety of the children in our schools. I wish I could be there today, but I don't hold 3 paid positions or have a bank full of educational money to use and abuse to defend my unethical behavior, so I've asked my wife to read my public comment. I want to begin by saying that me and my house serve the Lord. I've raised my children in a Christian home their entire lives, and I'm not a vengeful person. On May 10th, when I heard about the abuse Eli had endured that day, his head was slammed into lockers 7 times while he was fighting to get away from these boys so he wouldn't be held down for defending his friends and abuse. I had had enough. I contacted the coach. He reached right back out to me. Concerned at the time, he assured me that he would handle it, and from what I understand, 2 players received punishment of 5 days of suspension. I never wanted the boys to get in trouble where this would follow them the rest of their lives, because I knew the only reason this happened is these boys were unsupervised for long periods of time in off-season. What we discovered was that this has been a pattern at the Quitman locker room for years. 3 out of the 6 boys charged with assault, battery, and harassment testified that this behavior has gone on for years and that it, in fact, happened to them personally. Coach Mars contacted me 3 times. I suggested putting a coach in the locker room to make sure this didn't happen again, and he told me more than once it was against the law. As this case progressed, Mr. Stacks never spoke to our boys, not one time, but he sat with, high-fived, and supported each of the offenders time after time again in juvenile court. This is a red flag. My children went to Quitman for 3 years, and during this time, a principal was having sexual relations with students and allowed to resign. She should be in jail. This is a red flag. I can assure the abuse that we came forward with is 100% true. 6 boys were convicted in juvenile court. This has gone on for years. This was not an isolated incident. This is a red flag. I grew up in Quitman. I love Quitman. I went to school there, and it was a good school, and it has potential to be a good school again with a change in administration. I cannot see how Quitman can continue to be a good school under their unethical leadership. The results of how this case was handled 100% came from the top down. They have proven to go out of their way to defend the offenders and turn their back on the victims from day one in juvenile court. They looked for a loophole where the offenders could continue to play football. Why can't they admit their fault instead of standing up with their ethics and take their punishment instead of suing my family and now suing your board? They have made derogatory remarks against the children and their families, trying to discredit them and the reality of what happened.
Ms. White, can you wrap it up?
Yes, ma'am. They have also tried to discredit our advocate and our team of hearts that have helped us tread through these very muddy waters. It is sad that we have to have advocates to help us advocate for our children, but I'm so thankful that we have the best. Their actions from this case alone should be enough to revoke his license, but I want it noted that he has a pattern of disregarding bad situations, sweeping things under the rug, but it's time darkness comes to light.
Thank you.
My child.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Angie Edwards, is that right?
I had a great speech today, but I want you all just to be aware that you've given us a voice. I have never discredited Quitman School. There are amazing teachers at Quitman School that care and love about those kids. Unfortunately, a principal who he wears many hats. he is not a representation of what Quitman can be and is. I watched that man when I first met him in his office when this whole thing came to light. He was upset, but he didn't shed a tear until he started defending the coach, and then the tears fell. My son hysterically crying, sitting in front of him, but he didn't shed a tear until he wanted to defend the coach. That is where this issue begins. His pride, his ego stands above and beyond the kids that were hurt. I watched this man in a courtroom high five and hug these perpetrators because that's what they were. They pled guilty to their actions. Mr. Stacks hugged them, high-fived them, told them good job, and not one time acknowledged the victims in any of this. Not once in a school where the victims still remained did he ever acknowledge them. Did he ever check in on them? Did he ever ask if they were doing okay or if they needed anything? Instead, the victims had to watch him give rides in golf carts to the perpetrators as they passed the victims, as he handed out hats for Quitman School to perpetrators while the victims stood there with nothing. He went above and beyond to throw this in the victim's face, to say, this is what we do. These kids didn't ask for any of this. The perpetrators didn't ask for special attention, but they were given that because the morale and, I believe wholeheartedly, pride and ego gets in the way of this. This is where the ethics comes in. I can't quote all the jargon in a big, thick binder. I can't. I have personally witnessed the ethics of somebody who is in charge of a whole school of hundreds of kids take this to a level that is mind-blowing. Instead of humbling himself and say, I messed up. I am the leader and I didn't lead well. He did not stand up to this. He still denies that anything wasn't carried out as it should have been. No apologies have been made by that man to say, I dropped the ball. I should have done something more. No apologies have been made to me, to the victims, to any families. He will still stand by his actions and never admit that he failed. And that is where an ethics charge, that's where the heart comes in. And that's where we stand to this day. And I thank you all for listening.
Victoria Sabrina, is that right? Oh, okay.
Hi, my name is Victoria Davidson. I've been a member of Quitman since I was a little girl. Both of my kids have went to Quitman. We have since pulled them out due to some predicament. My daughter was sexually assaulted outside of school. She had to go to the school with her perpetrator. We have sent multiple emails to Stacks or to the administration. I was told we did not need to meet. They disregarded everything about the safety plan that I had. She had to walk the halls every day with the thing. She was supposed to have a 504 plan. He does not care about that. He was on his phone on Facebook the entire time we were in the meeting. It really peed off me and my husband. We wanted to say something, but every time we would come to the administration or say anything, we get retaliated against. I have been escorted out. I have been told my daughter's a liar. If she would just kept her mouth shut, she wouldn't be suspended. He suspended her within a week 3 times for coming to him about bullying. She had got called a whore, everything under the sun. Nobody would help us. We finally kept it quiet until we started seeing people come forward because we were getting retaliated against. I have emails from where I had begged for a meeting to put a safety plan installed because the person that she had to walk beside is literally passing her every day. And he looked at me and my husband and I bawled, and I did cuss him out, I did. He told me there is 956 students in this school. He is not worried about 2. If the court system wants to say anything, they can send him something, while this person still proceeds to be in the band. But also what really got us is this happened outside of school. He testified against my daughter in court, and he had nothing to do with it. It really upset us that he had enough nerve to defend this perpetrator that was representing his school, to the point we have completely, for the last 3 years, have stayed away from Quitman. We moved all the way to Hot Springs just to get out of the county. So we have had a lot of issues with this administration, and I will not let my kids go back until he is either gone or somebody else steps in, because we have had so much hurt and anger towards this. And I've been there. I graduated from Quitman, never had a problem with it, loved it. My daughter gets told she's a liar in front of the counselor. She gets told that she deserved it. Like, what person will tell you that you have 900 and something kids when there is a court-ordered safety plan in place and you refuse to listen to it or meet with me and send me to Coach B, which at the time was supposed to be another person that was acting as an academic professional or coach or whatever. I'm like, this is something serious that we wanted to address, and we just got shunned away. And I just feel like something needs to get done with him, because these kids are not going to get their justice. These kids, it's going to keep happening, and these kids are afraid to stand up, like my daughter, because we're afraid that they're going to be retaliated against. And that's not fair to the kids.
Thank you. Mr. Woods, Jason Woods.
How y'all doing today? My name is Jason Woods. I'm a current current parent and a former parent of Quitman School of students. I'm just gonna cut to the chase. My 13-year-old daughter was raped in Quitman schools. Stacks knew, resource officer knew. They coerced her into saying it was consensual because it would hurt the school's image. I finally got pushed and pushed and had to get charges against this kid, who was expelled and in the alternative school and still allowed to be on campus. Finally, and so with the school's recommendation, he only got probation. Now, the history of this kid, the year before, he raped another girl at the school. Stacks, school resource officer, staff didn't protect him. After my daughter, another girl was raped by the same person. They didn't even talk to that kid's parents. They went to some mother's boyfriend. Nothing is done. You tie this into what's going on now. As the young lady just said, it's about ego, pride, and the competency of our football team over the safety of our students. Mars bullies students in class. My son, for not being a great athlete. Your job as administrators, the school board, is to protect our children. You oversee Stacks, you oversee this. And until something is done and they are removed completely from children's lives, children's equipment won't be safe. Something has to change. This is not a one-time incident. This is a culture of allowing abuse and corruption to control Quitman and the school district. So if you vote against suspending him or firing him, you're not protecting these kids. You're just allowing more hurt. And thank God my daughter has recovered from this, but you have no idea what we went through to get her to. So I ask humbly, take your oath seriously and take this case seriously. Stacks is not qualified to manage a school or children, period. Thank you very much.
Mr. Rice.
Good morning, Secretary Lever, to the State Board of Education, to Chair Woods. My name is Cedric Charles Rice. I'm a proud resident of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, a taxpayer, a Zebra graduate, and I have the fun job of being chairman of the Pine Bluff School District Board of Directors. And so I'm here this morning just to continue to talk about the magnificent journey of the Pine Bluff School District. We've come out of state control, we passed the millage, and now with community support, we're building a state-of-the-art high school. I also want to talk about that recently within a board meeting, we had public comment. Now, we've always had public comment, but this was different because of the law change. And I was just excited about that because the board worked very, very hard to establish some rules of decorum, because we know that children are present, we know that we also want to be respectful. And so that went very, very well. So I want to send kudos to our team and also kudos to our superintendent. I just want to talk about the fact that we are galvanized as a board to move the school district forward. We have an awesome superintendent that has vision for us going forward, and we're still focusing on student success. So just keep watching the magnificent journey of the Pine Bluff School District. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I think we're going to move on to board reports.
So, a couple things on the board reports. I want to provide some updates to the board because I know at previous board meetings the board's asked for some updates, especially for some of our schools under state control. But since Ms. Wilcoxon's not here to do her Teacher of the Year update, I asked Capri Salam to dust off her Teacher of the Year hat and come in and provide a quick update because we had some exciting announcements this past week, and she agreed humbly to go ahead and re-wear that crown.
It's always humbling to stand here and bring the mic down, how short I am. But good morning. I always love being on this side of the stage, so to speak. And I was so humbled that Secretary Leva would ask me to share some of the things that we've been doing in the ATOY program, because I am now the Teacher of the Year coordinator. And some of you all joined us on Monday, which was exciting, but we had our 2026 Arkansas Teacher of the Year recognition ceremony. And Secretary Leva included in his remarks, but I don't know if everyone knows, our Teacher of the Year program is over 65 years old in the state, and so we have a long standing legacy. So, I want to
I've also heard it's one of the best from the Teachers of the Year, so.
Yeah, not to toot our own horn, but it is one of the better programs in the state, and I'm so happy that we recognize and celebrate great teachers, and we have a lot of them, and so every year is so hard when we start accepting applications from our district Teachers of the Year. Thank you, Denise. Oh, look at me. All right, so on Monday we had afternoon tea with the Teachers of the Year, and we recognized our top 15 finalists. So it was held Monday, July 28th at 2 p.m. in the Governor's Mansion, and this elegant afternoon tea served as a fitting backdrop to honor and celebrate the top 15 finalists. So these are exceptional educators whose dedication and impact are shaping the future of education in Arkansas. And so we included some pictures of uncandid shots there on the right. And then on the left, we have Secretary Leva, our governor, and first gentleman with our 15 finalists from all across the state. And so I love being able to celebrate them and all of their hard work and dedication and what they do in our classrooms to grow our children. And during this ceremony, we had 5 state semifinalists that were announced. Some states call them like the Fantastic Four or the Fab Five, and I think that's so fitting, so we're gonna call them the Fab Five this year. And they are, if you see the picture on the left with Secretary Leva, we have Alana Ashworth. She is at PG, so yes, Prairie Grove. And then we have Stephanie Williams at Benton. And then we have our governor, Gretchen Frialden-Hoven is at Greenbrier. Elena Weaver is from Bryant, and Chanel Dale is from Fayetteville. And since Jeannie could not be with us today, I still want to include her. And so there is an action shot. She did a wonderful job of including her remarks and just being thoughtful and celebrating the hard work that our teachers do each and every day in the summertime, late hours into the night. And so we were so happy. I also included a photo because we invite former Teachers of the Year, and we had quite a few. So we were only missing 3, and they were actually out of town, and so they the past 10 years, and there we all are, and we lined up in order of our years. And so that was something special because it's rare that we all get a chance to get together. So we look forward to this every single year. And to include on our last slide, I hope that Stacy does not mind me sharing this, but she posted it on social media, and I thought this story was too good not to share. So those are actually 2 of her former students, and they are top 15 finalists. And so great teachers make great teachers. She was the 2019 Arkansas Teacher of the Year, and she's pictured with Caitlin Smith, who is the district Teacher of the Year at Conway, and Victoria Golden is the District Teacher of the Year at Little Rock, and that's where Stacy was teaching at the time, was Little Rock School District, and they're both her former students, and they both made it to top 15. So talk about a grow your own program when you grow exceptional teachers, and so I thought that was just too good not to share. Hopefully next year, I know that Dr. Arnold was able to make it, and Ms. Lisa was able to make it, and so I hope next year that we can have even more people come and experience our afternoon or brunch with our Teachers of the Year. And so that means that we have 5 that will be competing, so to speak, this fall, and one of them will be announced as the 2026 Arkansas Teacher of the Year.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Capri, for that update and for coordinating this whole program. You're doing a wonderful, wonderful job, and it's true. When you look at states that really celebrate and elevate the profession and really buy into the Teacher of the Year program, we are one of the best. And I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there, and we're really proud of the work that you're all doing, so thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And we really do have a great team, because big events like this are not a one-man show. And so I really, really have a great team in educator effectiveness and licensure. Everyone always pitches in, and it's one of those things that really bonds us and brings us close together, because it is a lot of hard work. But we love doing it. We love to celebrate teachers. So thank you all.
So the next item, what I'd like to do is bring Ms. Whitlow up. She shared a PowerPoint that has some of the data on all the schools that we've been providing frequent updates around state takeover, our school improvement efforts. But for today, I'd like her to spend a little bit more time talking about kind of the journey we've been on Blytheville to make sure that we're ready to welcome our young scholars. I know there's great interest from the board on that, and Mr. Henderson's been a big help in making sure we're getting everything across the finish line. So there's been a lot of progress over this summer and the last few weeks. The team's been on ground. And then as we're starting to hear from the different schools under our authority, we have Dr. Hodo here from West Helena, and he's going to talk more specifically about his school and what they're doing to prepare for the opening of the school year. So
right, he told me I couldn't do all these slides. Me. No. We compile, he asked us to compile this, just kind of an update on where we are, and the timeline with each of the districts, so you have an idea of who is currently under state authority receiving level 5 intensive support and where they are in their journey. So there's a lot of information in there, and if anytime, feel free to contact me if you have questions about any specific districts or where we're going with those districts. But yes, we've been in Blytheville. It's been 2 months since I think that I've been with you, and we've been very busy. We've worked a lot in the business office because we needed to work with contracts. You know, in the initial report in May that there were contract salary schedule issues, stipends, those things. So we've had several board packets, several board meetings to update and get those things updated. We've also been having meetings with teachers and staff to explain the contracts, explain their job descriptions, explain why, if this is your job, it's part of your job and it's part of your salary. There are not additional stipends that go with that because it's during your contracted day. So being respectful and having those conversations so people understand why these changes are happening. The positive that I'm going to share with you today is what we're seeing in the community and the outreach within the community and the feedback that we're getting. And Mr. Henderson will probably want to share some too, because he's been involved in the meetings that we're having. But we're hearing from industry, we're hearing from the business community, and they're ready to support and excited about the ideas behind the transformation contract. The interim superintendent, Dr. Brent Miller, has been meeting with civic groups and giving them updates on the work that's going on in Blytheville as well. So we're working on getting systems in place. As far as staffing, interviews are still going on. We lost 86 students last year. So as we look at our numbers, we know that decline may impact some of these areas where we think we have vacancies. We may not, because we may not have the students there. We've had to, I will share this too, that, and I don't know if the last update, if you shared about the facility, the middle school and our water incident, but we had a situation where the water company, and they did own it, that they redirected the main and it went into a water line underneath the middle school building, and it burst, and that caused a lot of structural damage. So the district did not have a construction manager or architect, so we've hired them to come in, and they're helping with the design. We're waiting until our transformation contract is done, so that team can come in and help with the design of that and how we may restructure some of that as well within that building, because there were a lot of temporary walls. They weren't weight-bearing walls, so those have had to be removed because the floor literally raised up and separated from the roof. It was unbelievable damage for such a very bad mistake. So we're working on that right now and getting that. We have a plan for the students and redirecting. It didn't impact a lot of regular classrooms, but it did have a huge impact on that side of the middle school building. We did do a configuration. There were 5 LEAs. We now have 3. All of those have been moved. There's still boxes in the hallway, but they're working on it. They have a company that does the work for them for maintenance, and so they're working hard to get people in to help so that we can get everything moved in and ready. When students arrive on August 11th, the staff arrives on August 4th. Tomorrow, Mr. Henderson, you might want to share with them what's going on in Blytheville tomorrow, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure. Thank you, Ms. Whitlow. Tomorrow, we're having a Blytheville County City Youth Back to School program, and it's annually, and that particular group that gives that event, they've been doing it for over 30 years. So we have a huge turnout at that event. Typically, you have politicians. You have Senator Wallace. He attends annually. Joey Carr, the Mayor Logan, previous mayors, and Department of Education is going to be there as well.
You will represent, yes.
Yeah, so really excited about that event, creating a whole lot of just good feeling in the city, with the school. You have all the stakeholders include the business owners, private sectors, and just the overall community. And,
right.
We really appreciate everything that the department is doing, and we appreciate just the overall environment and the feel in the city of Blytheville with the school district.
I don't want to underscore the commitment that Sheila and her team has made to getting through the day-to-day operations of that school district and have to dismantle and uncover the dysfunctional mess in the state of the state that district was in. It became very clear when we started getting in there, rolling up our sleeves, that was a place for adults to have jobs and make money and kids to just hang out and nobody worried about what they were doing. And we had to undo that, and we have to reshape and set a new bar and a new culture. We formally requested leg audit from the state to do audits to get a handle on the books, because they've been doing private audits and it doesn't look right. Like usually when something doesn't smell right, it's not right. And those conversations were really hard to have when people were used to getting random stipends for no reason. They're not getting that anymore. And those are tough conversations, and it takes a lot of courage to say, today is a new day, and you're gonna do your job. Your job isn't going to Sonic 3 times a day, it's to do your job. And this has been a big task that we've taken on, but it's the right task, and it's the right thing it was the right thing for our board to do, and it's the right thing for the community, and the students deserve that. And we're hearing stories from students that are telling their parents and Sheila's team that they are the most excited they've ever been to come back to school this year because they feel like they might actually have a chance to learn something. And so we cannot take our foot off the gas. Our board tasked us with identifying and putting out a procurement for an external operator. I think we provided that update at the last meeting that we've identified somebody. We're in finalizations with contract negotiations, and they plan to start being on site Monday.
Right.
So we are moving with urgency to provide some systems and support that are going to make a difference in the lives of those students, and it's well deserved. So also the co-op, right? Like we really rolled up and said to the co-op, like we need boots on the ground and we need help. Pam Castor and their team have been there elbow to elbow with us every single day. There no excuses. We've got a short window to make sure when these scholars come back that they're ready to come back in a safe, high quality learning environment where we can hit the ground running on day one, and we are going to achieve that.
When you say external operator, do you mean an interim super, or do you mean like a transformation contract?
Do you want to speak to
The transformation,
what we're doing?
the transformation contract.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
So it's similar to the situation with Marvel Lane, where we knew there wasn't enough leadership capacity to run the day-to-day operations. So we put out a similar request almost to say, we're looking for somebody to come in, run day-to-day operations, make sure things are working the way they're supposed to be, train our folks. We have a network that applied. It's the School of Math and Sciences. I always get them backwards. The Academies of Math and Sciences. They have some small presence here in Arkansas. They're mostly based out of Arizona, and they're going to come in with a professional development program, a curriculum supported with our Atlas Progress Scoring System. Their track record of success is very, very high. And we put together a community forum. I think Mr. Henderson was witnessed part of that. And when we identified the top 4 people, because we had about 8 people apply, our agency looked at like the top 4 based on qualifications, and then sent them to the community, and the community representatives from the district, the businesses, the chambers, the faith-based organizations. We put together a committee, and all 4 of those companies had to come in and do interviews and talk about what they were going to do. And that community selected, pretty much made the recommendation of who they were going to select, and it was unanimous that they found somebody that would understand the needs of Blytheville, because that group did their homework. And you may want to speak to the process, but we did a clear and transparent process to say we're going to get the best.
Yeah, and to your point, the process was very clean, very respected. There was no outside influence, and it felt really good to see the community come together and say, "This is what we want."
Yes.
You know, and it's pretty good. It's very good feel and very good process.
And I think that's one thing with everything that we've been doing, we've been very transparent, and that has been voiced often from community members. They appreciate the transparency. They like that they know what's going on, and they're also getting a voice and having a voice, and we're listening. And students are feeling the same way about that, the students having that voice.
The one thing that I really respected, the group that made that decision represents the community.
Absolutely.
It was certainly it was a lot of diversity in the group, and it was a group of leaders, and a group that represent the school district and represent the city.
And that was an entire day, wasn't it? They gave up an entire day.
Oh,
They were there all day. So we're close to completion of that contract, and then we'll start that transition like we did with Friendship, because we did something very similar with, it wasn't quite as long with Friendship, with Marvel Lane, but we'll have a transition. So our presence, we will still be there during the transition time as they begin then to really take over and manage the district and select a superintendent.
I'll always remember that at the end of our decision, we received a standing ovation, or the decision received a standing ovation. That really makes a statement. And Randy, I know your mom's happy.
She is.
So, question about how you just, so I'm thinking about, and this is very exciting to have an external operator come in and just kind of get things
Yes.
in order and really demonstrate how things are supposed to be. How does that, but that does not replace the need ultimately for a board. Is that correct? Because these are administrators and operators, not the board. Is that correct?
That's correct. So if you look at kind of where we are with level 5, we dissolve the board, right? And then as we start looking at maybe a 5-year plan, as we hit benchmarks and milestones along the way, we would want to start establishing a limited authority board so that we can do a gradual release back to the community. So that probably won't happen in year 1 or 2. We got to be honest about our expectations, but by year 3, we feel like we should be at a place where we want to start getting back gradual control, to have the right systems in place. Our conversations with when we do a transformational contract and bring in an external operator, our goal is for them to put themselves out of business where we don't need them anymore.
Yes.
And they know that going in. Like, this isn't a long-term solution. This is, we got to get some things in place now and then gradually get this district self-sustaining so that they can be supported on their own.
Well, thank you. And we must be thinking about things the same way, because, you know, I do think about the board and the fact that at some point, they will have to stand on their own, and they will have to all be elected at the same time. And, you know, so I feel like getting those board members in place with enough lead time ahead of the end of the 5 years, that they will have a chance to train and make a name for themselves in the community.
That's right.
So that then the community can, make good choices. So, not just about Blytheville, which is really on the beginning of their journey, but I think about whenever I look at dates here like Lee County, who is coming to an end of their state authority, in 2026. I mean, what are we doing from that perspective with their board?
Yes.
The runway is very short.
So we're getting ready to have an advisory board at Lee County. We're working on that right now. That's on our timeline. Earl has an advisory board, and so they meet very similar. Mr. Wood, you referenced Little Rock, and you were on that advisory. They work in that same capacity, like you did at LRSD in that advisory capacity. Helena has a board, but their board has limited authority on personnel. So all of the personnel decisions are brought to Secretary Lever for decisions. And then, of course, Marvel Lane at this point does not. But they're under the management of the Friendship. They're beginning this year will be their 3rd year.
Okay.
Of Friendship.
All right, thank you.
So, I'd like to introduce to the board Dr. Hodo. I don't know if this is his first time coming in front of the board, but he stepped in. We had a little bit of leadership transition in West Helena last year. Then he stepped in as an interim for a few months, and then we decided we liked him and thought we should keep him around, and formally named him as the superintendent. He finished out a school year on a high note and is doing some really, really impressive work, and we're really lucky to have him here with us today.
Well, thank you, guys. Board of Directors, I really am excited about being here today. I want to say a couple highlights. First of all, I want to let you guys know that you do a lot of good work. Don't get bogged down in what people may say. You do a lot of good work, and we appreciate what you do. Next thing I want to actually just take a point and just highlight the actual Department of Education, because people like Tiffany Pride and Jane Green and Matt Sewell and Hope Work, those individuals make my work easy. And I know oftentimes they don't get the actual just accolades for doing it, but they make my work easy. Some of the things I provided with you guys for us, the highlight booklets, you'll see we do that every 9 weeks. And so those are just highlight things that you will see that we've done over the last year. And I just do a couple just high level things on what we've done right now. Right now we have, as of last Monday, we've had an increase in enrollment 18.24% since Q1 of last year. And this is the first year we received increase in enrollment money, which I saw zeros all the way down. And I was like, wow, that's really good. I probably shouldn't say that, but it is. Also, I did want to make note too, last year, we actually, we have 17 teachers that became certified standard licensed teachers. One of the things we do believe is that every student deserves a high quality teacher in front of them each and every day. And so we're committed to doing just that. Additionally, I want to just to make it known that we have in the works, we have a new school, JF Wall, we're actually looking to actually build. It's over 60 years old and it's past time, and so we actually had our open bid yesterday, and so we'll be breaking ground on JF Wall really soon. Additionally, because of the increase in enrollment, we're potentially looking to actually have a middle school, 6 through 8 middle school, because of the enrollment we're actually having. I have an amazing team. The department, and Ms. Whitlow, her team, they do an amazing job with supporting us. And I just wanted to give you guys just a high level things of what we've done this year. And I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity.
And I'm sure the board may have some questions, because I know they're going to probably want to ask about student performance.
Yeah.
Because ultimately that's on our priority list, and graduation rates, and maybe some new programs. So.
Well, I'll begin. We actually started our Middle College Academy, where we actually have, we'll have our first scholar graduating with the associate degree from the actual school this year. We started Middle College Academy, which allowed our students to receive an associate degree from Phillips County Community College. And that's a great, and a lot of the parents are really excited about it, to be able to receive a college degree while still in high school. That's amazing.
And that's something that was not offered before.
No, it was not offered before.
We're setting more accelerated opportunities, even in the Delta. We know these kids can do it. If we build the right system, they're going to be successful.
That's correct. Also, we've increased the number of advanced placement courses we're offering. We're offering 6 more advanced placement courses than we had last year. We had our teachers just coming back from the actual Arkansas, the AP training, and so they were sending, actually just a few minutes ago, sending actually certificates. And so we're excited about that opportunity. It's not just the academic part, also we have the AP art we're looking at, and so just providing opportunities for those scholars. Because the zip code should determine what opportunities you actually provided, and we're looking to provide every opportunity we can for those scholars. As it relates to our Atlas scores, if you look at it, we actually are, you see it around the world, we actually increased the number of kids that are on grade level, decreasing the number of kids who are in level 1, and that's what we're trying to do. It's hard work, but it's hard work, and we'll continue that hard work each and every day. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
No problem, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lee, did you have anything? No? Okay.
Oh, since we're here, just a compliment back. Here you've held up your team. It's called co-elevation, a real strong descriptor of leadership. And so I want to make sure that you get credit for stepping into this and making a difference. I can tell immediately how your persona can influence a system for the good.
Appreciate you, thank you.
Thank you so much.
So with that, I think we look forward to our next board meeting. We'll probably bring Earl. I want to hear, I think I heard another district we have questions around timelines on, and get an update on transitions and hear from those leaders and make sure we stay the course. By then, I think we may actually have some learning gains data that we want to share with the board that should be coming out. I know we were able to share achievement level data at the last board meeting, but then when you calculate in the learning gains, there's another process, but that work is moving forward, and we're excited this year. When we issue school grades, we're going to be issuing district grades as well. So I think the board will have great interest in that. And then also want to just thank the DESE team for their hard work. Everybody across the spectrum this summer, they were out in schools working side by side with leaders and teachers, and about 2 or 3 weeks ago hosted a summit. That was about 3 or 4 days of professional learning that had well over 1,000 people attend. And the feedback we've received has been extremely positive, and it's just a commitment to raising excellence in the state. I know for me, beginning of August is one of my most exciting times of the school year, because schools are opening, and if you've worked in schools in the summers and you've been an administrator, there's nothing more rewarding than hearing those little voices back in the hallways and opening up our campuses and getting ready for schools to open. So thank you to all those leaders, teachers, school board members, everybody that's going to make sure we start off this school year great. But I always like to remind people when school starts, we need to have patience because we got a lot of new families learning new routines and a lot of new car rider lines. Busers are back on the road, so if you see flashing ahead, make sure you stop. Let's respect school zones. Let's put our phones down. It's going to be a wonderful school year with everybody working together. So thank you, board, for another wonderful meeting. I look forward to the next one.
Okay, with that, I was gonna bring up, did you have anything else? No? Nothing from you? Okay. Are we having a virtual meeting? I knew there were some rules that needed to be voted on, I think, before school started. Yeah, we will. I think we're still coordinating dates at this point. Okay, but just for everybody on the board, we may have a virtual meeting before our September meeting. Anything else? Any board member? Lee? Anything? No? Okay. Well, with that, I think, do we need a motion to adjourn? Yes? Kim's like, yes, you do. Anybody move to end the meeting?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Wood.
Second?
Second by Ms. Hunter. All in favor say aye. Meeting ends at 11:59.
I know, like, yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah. We're back.